Hello, welcome back to Kim Reads. We're going to start Sarah, Plain and Tall. 1. Did Mama sing every day? Asked Caleb. Every single day. He sat close to the fire, his chin in his hand. It was dusk, and the dogs lay beside him on the warm hearthstones. Every single day, I told him, for the second time that week, for the 20th time this month, 100th time this year, the past few years. And did Papa sing too? Yes, Papa sang too. Don't get too close, Caleb. You'll heat up. He pushed his chair back. It made a hollow scraping sound on the hearthstones, and the dog stirred. Lottie, small and black, wagged her tail and lifted her head. Nick slept on. I turned the bread over and over on the marble slab on the kitchen table. Well, Papa doesn't sing anymore, said Caleb very softly. A log broke apart and crackled in the fireplace. He looked up at me. What did I look like when I was born? You didn't have any clothes on, I told him. I know that. He said, you look like this. I held the bread dough up in a round pale ball. I had hair, said Caleb seriously. Not enough to talk about, I said. And she named me Caleb, he went on, fulfilling in the old familiar story. I would have named you Troublesome, I said, making Caleb smile. And Mama handed me to you in the yellow blanket and said, he waited for to finish the story and said, I sighed. And Mama said, isn't he beautiful? And I was, Caleb finished. Caleb thought the story was over, and I didn't tell him what I really thought. He was homely and plain, and he had a terrible holler and a horrid smell. These were not the worst of him. Mama died the next morning. That was the worst thing about Caleb. Isn't he beautiful, Anna? Her last words to me. I would have gone to bed thinking how wretched he looked, and I forgot to say goodnight. I wiped my hands on my apron and went out the window. Outside, the prairie reached out and touched the places where the sky came down. Though the winter was nearly over, there were patches of snow and ice everywhere. I looked at the long dirt road that crawled across the plains. Remember in the morning that Mama died, cruel and sunny. We had come to her in a wagon and taken her away to be buried. And then the cousins and aunts and uncles had come in and tried to fill up the house. They couldn't. Slowly, one by one, they left. And then the days seemed long and dark, and the winter days, even though it wasn't winter and Papa didn't sing. Isn't he beautiful, Anna? No, Mama. It was hard to think of Caleb as beautiful. It took 3 whole days for me to love him. Sitting in the chair by the fire, Papa washing up the supper dishes, Caleb's tiny hand brushing my cheek, and a smile. It was a smile I know. Can you remember her songs? Asked Caleb, Mama's songs. I turned from the window. No, only that she sang about flowers and birds, sometimes about the moon at night time. Caleb reached down and touched Lottie's head. Maybe, he said, his voice low, if you remember the songs, then I might remember her too. My eyes widened and tears came. And then the doors opened and blew in with Papa and went to stir the stew. Papa put his arms around me and put his nose in the air. Nice soapy smell, that stew, he said. I laughed. That's my hair. Caleb came over and threw his arms around Papa's neck and hung down as Papa swung back and forth and the dog sat up. Cold in town, said Papa, and Jack was feisty. Jack was Papa's horse, and he'd raced from a colt. Rascal, murmured Papa, smiling. Became, no matter what Jack did to Papa, loved him. I spooned at the stew and light the oil lamp and ate with dogs crowding under the table, hoping for spills or handouts. Papa might not have told us about Sarah that night if Kayla hadn't asked him that question. After the dishes were cleared and washed and Papa was filling the tin pail with ashes, Caleb spoke up. It wasn't a question, really. You don't sing anymore, he said. He said it harshly, not because he meant to, but because he'd been thinking of it for so long. Why? He said more gently. Slowly, Papa straightened up. There was a long silence, and the dogs looked up, wondering at it. I've forgotten the old songs, said Papa quietly. He sat down, but maybe there's a way to remember them. He looked at us. How? Said Caleb eagerly. Papa leaned in the chair. I placed an advertisement in newspapers for help. You mean a housekeeper? I asked, surprised. Caleb and I looked at each other and burst out laughing, remembering Hilly, our old housekeeper. She was round and slow and shuffling. She snored in a high whistle at night like a tea kettle and let the fire go out. No, said Papa slowly. Not a housekeeper, he paused. A wife. Caleb stared at Papa. A wife? You mean a mother? Nick slid his face into Papa's lap and Papa stroked tears. That too, he said, like Maggie. Matthew, our old neighbor to the south, had written to ask for a wife and mother there for his children, and Maggie had come from Tennessee. Her hair was the color of turnips, and she laughed. Papa reached into his pocket and unfolded a letter written on the white paper. And I've received an answer, Papa read to us. Dear Mr. Jacob Whitting, I am Sarah Wheaton from Maine, as you will see from my letter. I am answering your advertisement. I've never been married, though I have been asked. I lived with an older brother, William, who was about to be married. His wife-to-be is young and energetic. I've always loved to live by the sea, but at this time I feel a move is necessary. The truth is, the sea is as far east as I can go. My choice, as you can see, is limited, though it should not be taken as an insult. I am strong, and I work hard, and I am willing to travel, but I am not mild-mannered if you should care to write. I would be interested in your children and about where you live, and you. Very truly yours, Sarah Elizabeth Wheaton. P.S. Do you have an opinion on cats? I have one. No one spoke when Pop finished the letter. He kept looking at it, his hands reading it over to himself. Finally, I turned my head a bit to sneak at Caleb. He was smiling. I smiled too. One thing I said in the quiet of the room. What's that? Asked Papa, looking up. I put my arm around Caleb. Ask her if she sings, I said. See it? End of that chapter. See you later.